Hello and welcome to the video, and welcome to another season, the 2025 Formula One World Championship. Now, to anyone who hasn't seen any of my race, should we call them recap videos? No, just race opinion videos, really, because I don't do a blow-by-blow account of the race. Basically, if you have not seen one before, all I do is I just list down the finishing order in the race, and then I list the top 10 in the championship, followed by the rundown of the Constructors' Championship. And then I just have a little chat about things that happened in the race, how certain drivers performed, etc. Not a blow-by-blow account of the race, but just a sort of chat that you might have with a friend or something over the race. So, let us dive in. Okay, so the race was, of course, round 1. Australia. At Melbourne Park. I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to the race. I did think of going there. I had been to Australia before, about 30 years ago, but that was not for the Grand Prix. At that stage, the race was still at Adelaide. But I'd love to go to Melbourne. Anyway, the winner. Norris. Verstappen. Russell, as usual. I just like to make sure that it is fully in focus. Very important. Okay. 4th place was, of course. Is it 2 L's? Yes, it is 2 L's, I think. Albon was in 5th. Stroll, amazing. Hulkenberg. Leclerc. Piastri and oh dear, Hamilton. Gasly. Tsunoda. It's unfortunate. Ocon. Now those are the finishers. Those are the finishers. And Lawson. Bortoleto. Then Alonso. Sainz. Doohan. And Hadjar. Okay. Poor Hadjar. In years to come, he's going to be embarrassed looking back at those images of him after the race, but he shouldn't be. But he will be. It's human nature. Okay, championship. Norris, 25 seconds. 18, of course. Don't know why I'm thinking about that. That's 15. Antonelli. Albon. It was Stroll, wasn't it? Yeah. Hulkenberg. Leclerc. Piastri. Hamilton, oh dear, oh dear. Right, so is it still in focus? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so constructors, yeah, McLaren, 27, Mercedes, 27, third, Red Bull, 18, Williams, 10, Aston Martin, 8, Sauber, 6, and Ferrari, 5. Yeah, I'm not going to bother writing down the others. There's 3 on 0 points, of course. Racing Bulls. Alpine. I guess Alpine would be in 8th place, wouldn't they? And RB would be, yeah, and then RB. So who's the other team then? Sauber, 6 points. That's incredible. Ahead of Ferrari. Who would have thought that was possible? Yeah, so who are the other 3 teams then? We've got obviously RB, and we've got Alpine. Oh, and Haas, of course. And Haas, I think, will be in last place, basically, you can say, because Gasly was 11th, so that would officially put Alpine 8th. And then Tsunoda was 12th, so Racing Bull would be next, and in 10th and last place, with their drivers 13th and 14th, would be Haas. Oh dear. Okay, so what did we think of that race? First of all, fastest lap. And I'm very pleased to say, as I said last year, I was really looking forward to them scrapping the point for a fastest lap. Some commentators most of the commentators on Sky seem to have wanted it to stay the point for fastest lap. Certainly not me, because it doesn't show, as I said last year, it doesn't show who had the fastest pace during the race, who put in the fastest lap, because you would have tactical fastest laps. You would have, say, I don't know, Bearman or someone coming in with 2 laps to go in his Haas last year, in one of the couple of races he raced in, and coming out on softs and taking the fastest lap because he wanted to take it off another team that was just ahead of them in the championship, who had the fastest lap at the time and were in the top 10. So that happened. That has happened so many times, where someone has come in, the team has brought them in, changed their tyres just in order to stop another team getting the fastest lap, another driver getting the fastest lap. So you would have a situation where you could have a Grand Prix where, let's pick another example, a driver who actually took part in every race, Hulkenberg, say. Hulkenberg in his Haas comes in, does fastest lap, boom. Of course he is, he's on fresh tyres in the last 2 laps of the race. Does that mean he had a deserved fastest lap? Of course not. It butchers the stats, basically. Everyone would look at that in years to come and think, wow, Hulkenberg had a fast car. Look at that, fastest lap. How come he finished 18th when he did the fastest lap? How's that possible? Well, it's because he came in with 2 laps to go and put on fresh boots. That's why. So I'm glad that that nonsense has happened now. Generally speaking, the fastest car on the day over 1 lap will end up with the fastest lap. So it was Lando Norris. Good stuff. So what did I think about the race? Well, it's a race of 2 emotions for me, really. Joy that Lando Norris has won the race, and got the better of Verstappen. Well, he had a big lead over Verstappen early on, of course, so he had Verstappen well beaten. It was only the safety cars that kept bringing Verstappen back into it. But anyway, great win by Norris. Piastri was just as good, deserved to win just as much. But yeah, so I'm happy with the Norris win, but devastated over Hamilton. I did have a feeling before the championship started. I thought, is this a year too far for Hamilton? Should he have retired? If he had got his 8th championship in 2021, which of course he should have, then would he have retired now? Or maybe he would have changed to Ferrari a couple of years ago or something. Is he being driven by the 8th championship thing? Part of me thinks so, but then another part of me thinks no, because he keeps going on about how excited he is about driving for Ferrari, to the point where he turned down some practice after Abu Dhabi last year. He didn't want to drive a Ferrari, even an older Ferrari, after Abu Dhabi, because he wanted the first time in a Ferrari to be at Fiorino racetrack. Or the other one, is it Modena or something? Can't remember. But I think it was Fiorino is where he wanted to do his first laps in a Ferrari. And yeah, that's very emotional and great, and the Ferrari fans would love to hear that. But surely you need all the practice you can get. Because look at Sainz. He jumps from one team to another and he's perfectly fine. He went from McLaren to Ferrari, and he was a little bit slower, I guess, than Leclerc at first, but not by much. He soon got up to speed very quick. And look what he's done in the Williams, Sainz. And that's because he had a little bit of Williams practice. Well, not necessarily because he had the Williams practice after Abu Dhabi, but I'm sure he did, if my memory serves me right. He did jump into a Williams after Abu Dhabi. But Hamilton's older, so maybe it just takes him longer, like it does with all of us, to adjust if you're a little bit older. There's a lot of talk about how Hamilton, I've got to cope with this button being on the left of the steering wheel. Normally it's on the right, and the menus are different. And I suppose all the drivers are complaining about that, or making note of that, I should say, not necessarily complaining. But we're hearing it more so with Hamilton. Not just because I'm watching British Sky coverage, but also I think around the world, where there's so much focus on Hamilton moving to Ferrari, that you're hearing all of these things more so than you would do, say, when Sainz went to Ferrari. Maybe Sainz was having all the same problems. But he certainly doesn't seem to have had many problems jumping into the Williams, Sainz. But it does remind me a little bit, Hamilton does remind me a little bit of Schumacher when he went to Mercedes. And it was like, just give me a few races be all right. Or just give me the testing first, and then the first race didn't go well. Well, just give me a few races. 2010 this was. Just give me a few races, and then still not going well. Okay, well, just give me to the halfway point in the championship, and then I'll be up to speed. Still nothing in the second half of the championship. Okay, well, all right, let me finish the year. Next year, 2011, I'll be totally up to speed. Basically, 3 years later, at the end of 2012, and he's still saying, right, okay, look, just give me a little bit more time. And then eventually he goes, I'm out of here. I'm retiring. It's and it's a little bit like that. Sometimes when you get to a certain age, it doesn't matter how much time is given to you, you're not able to do it, and that worries me a little bit with Hamilton. I hope I'm wrong, I really do. But it just has a bit of an inevitability to it. He doesn't look like the same scary fighting force. You know, I mean, Leclerc's not going to be scared of him at all. Just like Rosberg wasn't scared of Schumacher at Mercedes. We all thought Rosberg was going to get blown away by Schumacher in 2010. Didn't happen at all. I mean, Rosberg didn't blow Schumacher away, but he definitely had the edge on him. And look at Hamilton. He completely crushed Bottas. He had the beating of Nico Rosberg as well, quite comfortably. Most of the time, he was faster than Button, but that was closer. But still, most of the time, he was faster. But then with Russell, he's really struggled to be as quick as Russell. He's good in the races, but not as quick. And same thing here with Leclerc. However, the saving grace for Hamilton is that Leclerc didn't do well in this race either. Leclerc was only 0.2 faster in qualifying, and just finished 2 places ahead of Hamilton here. It was a bit unfortunate how Hamilton slipped from 8th to 10th at the end. It was a great overtaking manoeuvre by Leclerc, a bit aggressive, but fair, I think. Didn't seem to be any complaints from Hamilton, so it was just punchy. It was just aggressive, but that's okay. And then Piastri around the outside at turn 9. I mean, that was very, very Piastri-ish, basically, similar to Monza last year, where Piastri overtook Norris at the start. You know, a bit aggressive, but it worked. Bit dangerous, but he made it stick. So those 2 manoeuvres, great by Leclerc and Piastri, but not so good looking for Hamilton. I mean, he's not the scary teammate that he once was. I just hope he can do something, but I have absolutely no doubt that he won't win the championship this year. Will he next year? He'll be even older next year, won't he? I'm being very pessimistic about Hamilton, but I tend to think that his time has passed, unfortunately. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's like Alonso. I really hope I'm wrong. So yeah, great performance by Norris. Piastri. Norris led from start to finish, but Piastri was very close behind. Just about pretty much as close as you can get to a teammate, really, unless you are particularly faster than them. And there were times halfway through the race, there was a moment when Piastri was closing in quite fast on Norris. Now, could Norris have gone quicker? There's always that, isn't there? Maybe Norris was just taking it easy. We just don't know. But I thought it was a bit wrong that the team told Piastri to hold position. That was on lap 30. Piastri being told to hold position until lapped cars had been lapped or something ridiculous like that. And then only a couple of laps later, they said, you can race again now. That just seemed like a little bit of indecision from McLaren. But I thought it was a bad move anyway. They're level on points, 0 points each. First race of the season. Why can't why can't Piastri challenge Norris? I thought that was wrong. But that only seemed to last a couple of laps, and then they were free to race again. Right at the beginning, of course, we lost Hadjar. That was terrible. These things do happen. I mean, if I'd been Anthony Hamilton when he hugged him, I would have said, look, Schumacher blew his engine on the first lap before the first corner, I think, on his debut race in the Jordan, when he qualified 7th on the grid in Belgium in 1991. But it impressed so much that Benetton snatched him out of Jordan's hands for the next race, because it was such an impressive 100 yards that Schumacher did, although it was mainly the qualifying that impressed. 7th place in the Jordan. It was unexpected, an unexpected place for the Jordan, and it was his first race. So yeah, but yes, he did blow the engine straight away, or the gearbox or something like that. He did something like over-revved or something, Schumacher, in his first race, and destroyed his race. And he was distraught about that as well. So I'd have said that to Hadjar. I'd have said, you've just done what Schumacher did. 7-time world champion. Doohan, oh dear, that's not what Doohan needed. He's got all these terrible rumours. I don't understand why these rumours are there about Doohan being replaced by Colapinto. What is so fantastic about Colapinto? Yes, he's a good driver. He showed that last year. But I don't think, it's not like, as I said in a recent comment, it's not like Alpine have got Ayrton Senna on the bench, or Michael Schumacher, or Juan Manuel Fangio, or Alain Prost, or something. You know, they just got Franco Colapinto, who did quite well for a little bit in the Williams last year. But remember, Nick de Vries impressed massively in his one outing at Williams. And so he was snapped up for the following year at AlphaTauri, was it? And then was dumped halfway through the year, replaced with Ricciardo, wasn't it? Because that was a flash in the pan, clearly, that race for Williams. So how do we know that Colapinto is going to be super duper uber? I don't understand all the chat, and all it does is put massive amounts of pressure on Doohan. He's proven himself in F2 to be a good driver. He's got the ride. He's got the drive. It seems amazing to me that all this talk about Doohan being replaced, and all he's done is one race last year, and he did well in that one race. So I don't understand. I think it's more to do with everybody wanting Colapinto in Formula One, and yeah, I think he would do well in Formula One, but I don't think we need to dump Doohan. It's not like Doohan has got a couple of years of rough performances behind him. So let's just chill out on Doohan, I think. Give him some space. There's so much pressure. I'm not surprised he had a little wiggle and retired. Hadjar had a wiggle, Doohan had a wiggle, Sainz had a wiggle, Alonso had a wiggle, Bortoleto had a wiggle. What did Lawson do? I'm suspecting it was a bit of a wiggle, but a wiggle on the painted lines, maybe, wasn't it? A little bit of a snatch, a bit of oversteer, maybe, snatching on the steering wheel. A little wiggle followed by a snatch on the steering wheel, and you're into the wall. It even happened to Alonso. Or Alonso, as I've put here for some reason. So, what else? Yeah, so Piastri was very good, very unlucky. Both he and Norris went off when they did, but that was just bad luck, basically, for Piastri, that he ended up stuck in the grass, and Norris somehow ended up being able to get back onto the track and went on to win the race. It's just bad luck for Piastri. They were just as good as each other in qualifying and throughout practice and throughout the race. But now he's 23 points behind Norris. Devastating for Piastri, but a very good performance. Verstappen, very good performance. I tipped him to be champion, didn't I? I don't want him to be, but I did tip him to, and he was 15 seconds behind the McLarens at one point, before one of the many safety cars. He was 15 seconds behind. And then the safety cars drew them up again. So that suggests that the McLarens can comfortably beat the Red Bulls at the moment. But Verstappen does have this X factor. And it looked like he was going to grab the win at the end. I thought when he was challenging him in hard on the penultimate lap, I thought Verstappen was going to get it, but then I think he made a very slight little mistake. It lost him a fraction of a second, and that was enough to help Norris through the last lap. Norris may well have been able to, defend had Verstappen really gone for it, but this is Verstappen, isn't it? I mean, it's very difficult to. I think only Hamilton in recent years has managed to take on Verstappen in that aggressive car-on-car battles. Russell, I said that. Actually, you know what I said? I remember now. I predicted that the win would come from Norris, Verstappen, or Russell, and Norris, Verstappen, and Russell filled the podium. So that was very prophetic of me. Well done, me. I didn't predict it would be the podium, but I did predict that the win would come from one of those three. And they were all on the podium. Antonelli, great performance by Antonelli, coming up from, was it 16th on the grid? And he was swapping places with Hulkenberg a lot, who came all the way up to 7th. How did he do that? How did he come up to 7th? Okay, there were problems for other drivers, but I mean, ahead of both Ferraris. Of course, the big mistake that Ferrari made was that they stayed out too long on their hard tyres after the last. Well, they should have come in just before the safety car came out. By the time the safety car came out, the field had bunched together a bit, so they lost more places when they did come in for their inters, but they shouldn't have stayed out as long. Tsunoda, who had a fantastic qualifying in 5th, would have got a good solid points finish had he not stayed out longer as well on his hards. But probably, I wonder, Hamilton seemed to be suggesting afterwards that maybe, was he suggesting that they should have stopped earlier for inters, or was he suggesting that they, I think he was saying that the predictions on rain were not good because Leclerc was being told there's lots of rain. Hamilton was being told there's not much rain coming. And then the rain increased. So I think Hamilton thought it was right to come in for inters, but I think he was thinking that they should have come in earlier, not tried to stay out on the hards. But it didn't cost them many places because they were going to be about 6th or 7th. Earlier in the race, they were like 6th and 7th, and they ended up 8th and 10th. So, it didn't it didn't ruin their race like Piastri. They didn't suffer like Piastri. Ham has had a few very public communication issues with his new engineer. Is it Riccardo Adami? Is that his name? Riccardo Adami, something like that. Hamilton's new race engineer. No aggression, no unusual issues. It's just that it's all very public happening during the race when Hamilton says something, and it seemed like Riccardo misunderstood him and he just repeated the same thing again, and Hamilton said, no, I've just said I don't need that, thank you. I'll do it later, or whatever, I'll do the washing up later. Go away, leave me alone. And they're having a little domestic spat, or miscommunication, should we say? Not spat. I mean, it's not like Verstappen and his engineer. So it's it's a little bit of miscommunication there. But Hamilton did sound annoyed because he kept being asked to press the K1 button, didn't he? Which I think is the overtake button or something. When you get close, press the K. And Hamilton kept saying, no, I'll do it when I'm ready to do it, thank you. And then his engineer, Riccardo, said, well, I tell you what, just press it for practice. I know you're not close enough right now, but just for practice, just press it now. And Hamilton had to shout at him again and just say, leave it to me. I'll press it when I need to. I don't need to press practicing the button. It's very funny. But also a bit of pressing, because is this the slide for Hamilton, or is it just the extension of the slide from the last few years, despite winning 2 races last year? Anyway, that was quite amusing. I did make a few little notes here. Yeah, so lots of safety cars, which always makes it confusing to follow what's going on. Stroll, I haven't mentioned him. Yeah, I still believe Stroll should not be in the team. Yes, he got 6th place, but he does occasionally get 6th place. So I'm not eating humble pie or whatever the phrase is. I'm not eating my own words or eating something I shouldn't have eaten. I still believe that he should not be in the team, and the nepotism is terrible. I don't like it. But I suppose it's only natural with his dad sort of part owning the team. But it's still a good performance by Stroll. He kept his head when all around him were losing theirs, and he held it together, just like Hulkenberg did. So I'm really happy for those two, although I really want Hulkenberg to be on the podium, where he should be. He should be winning races. Albon, fantastic. He held off Hamilton for like the first 2/3 of the race or something. He was just so good. Albon. Antonelli got past him in the end, didn't he, at some point? But what a great performance by Albon. And I wonder where Sainz would have been. Sainz was faster during practice, and but then when it came to quali, Albon out-qualified Sainz, and in the race was just like a few places ahead, but then Sainz retired, so we didn't really get to see what Sainz would do. But that's looking like a really strong team. James Vowles, the team principal at Williams, must be so happy to start off with 10 points straight away. That immediately releases the pressure, and now he can just enjoy having these two really good drivers with not much pressure at all on the team. There would have been if they were like halfway through the season with 0 points, but no, getting 10 points in the first race, the pressure just falls away until the owners start expecting more, of course. Like if you keep finishing 5th and 6th and 4th, then they're going to start having a go at you for not finishing 3rd. Leclerc had the slight beating of Hamilton, yes, so in pace, but not by much. It's mostly the car that's the issue at the moment, or maybe just a setup for this race. I'm hoping in China the Ferrari will be a lot better. We want to see the Ferrari. Every Formula One fan wants to see Ferrari towards the top. And of course I want to see Hamilton on the top. But I want to see a really good battle between Leclerc and Hamilton, and we're not going to see it if they're just fighting around 10th place. But I want to see a really fiery battle between those two. Gasly put in a good performance, solid performance. He was in the points for a long time, I think. Tsunoda should have finished in the points had he not done what the Ferraris did, basically, and stayed out too long before going on to his inters. And Ocon and Bearman only 7 seconds apart in the end, despite Bearman starting from the pit lane. So that's actually a good race, good start for Bearman, despite all the problems he had in practice. All his accidents he kept having. So there you go. Overall, 2 emotions. Really happy for Norris. Really sad, I have to say, sad for Hamilton. But I really hope that it's just a Ferrari thing and not a Hamilton thing. But as I say, he wasn't much slower than Leclerc at all. Only slightly slower than Leclerc. And he's new to the team. Still doesn't know where all the buttons are. And he and his engineer don't really understand each other yet. So could that mean that Hamilton is actually destined to be faster than Leclerc by, say, the second half of the season? I don't know. But it won't be fun if they're just squabbling over 10th place. Okay, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to subscribe, please do so, or like the video, or comment, or even give a tip on the thanks button below the video. But basically, thank you very much for watching. The next race is only a week away, so on a very different circuit, so we'll see what happens there. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. and goodbye for now.